Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And if the brick is still there, howdy, brick. Another brick in the wall, or thick as a brick, depending. So, anywho, middle of the night, 1:30. I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will learn to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom of the universe. And that you and your friends and everybody that you come in contact will share the knowledge and the wisdom, and that each and every one of you, especially now with all of the extra craziness going on, um, pray folks will do the right thing. Let's just hope that what we're all doing is the right thing. And after all these different developments and this and that, and all kinds of stuff. Hi, Teresa. I think I said hi, didn't I? Um, this subject, which has kind of been rolling around in my tiny little brain for a while, and I've done a subject on it before, and I got some remarks from folks that they 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 enjoyed my concept of the 88th monkey. Now, what I'm going to do is, Teresa says, I just thought I bet Dave goes live tonight. I really wasn't. And then they kind of just sort of kicked me a little bit and said, come on. Hi, Michelle. 88. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, so here, let me give you just a little bit of premise on this. All right. Now, y'all know me well enough to know that I say the 88th monkey a little tongue in cheek. You know what I'm saying? It's a little satirical when I say, well, I'm the 88th monkey. Now, I was meditating, this has been many years ago, and I was like, if, and I was asking Creator and my higher self and spirits and everything. I believe I was on the river, on the lake down there. And I'm looking up at the stars and into the universe, and I'm like, what is this like? And I'm thinking water, and for some reason, monkeys and the number 88. And I thought, oh, it's the 100th monkey hypothesis. Okay. Now I'm going to read this little clip for you as everybody's coming in here. But so basically, there were some scientists over near Japan. Started in 1952, which is the year I was born. So I just kind of thought that was interesting. But let me read you this little tidbit. Hi, Michelle. The 100th monkey experiment. The Japanese monkey Macaca fuscata had been observed in the wild for over 30 years. In 1952, on the island of Koshima, scientists were providing monkeys with sweet potatoes dropped in the sand. The monkeys liked the taste of the raw sweet potatoes, but they found the dirt unpleasant. So they, over a period of time, they learned that if they washed off the sweet potato, okay, so the 100th monkey phenomena refers to a sudden, spontaneous, and mysterious leap of consciousness achieved when an allegedly critical mass point is reached. The idea of the 100th monkey phenomena uh, comes from that. So after 100 monkeys, supposedly, then all of a sudden, all of the monkeys know how to wash potatoes. Okay? So in this idea, that so they liked those sweet potatoes, but they didn't like the sand on them. So after 100 monkeys, though, and whatever they did, however they achieved it, after 100 monkeys, monkeys who had not washed their potatoes before suddenly understood that they just, ooh, there's sand on it, and they just went over and washed it off. Now, one could say that it's a learned behavior and that it with practice, after 100 monkeys, enough of the other monkeys have observed it. Now, one of the issues has been that somehow monkeys on the other side of the island that, for example, that had not observed the behavior, they they understood that, oh, if there's sand on it, you go wash it off. So now that's the theory. So when I was asking creator, okay, where am I on the grand scheme of things? Now I know that when I, transform into my other self, and I don't, and I'll turn to dust in this life, in this world. Um, where would I be on a scale of 1 to 100? Just off in the distance, what with my knowledge and what I've learned and past lives and the experiences, the visions. I mean, I was after the we did the video the other night on Soul Tribe. Um, Robert V and I were talking, and I said the subject came up, and I said, there are a lot of people who don't believe in ghosts, but the house that I lived in that burnt down back in 1982, I believe it was, a ghost. I picked him out, in a family album. I've talked about this before, but old Mr. Croft, he manifested himself to I could not see through him, but so that he could shake my foot. Now, when I think about how much energy that must require to come and actually manifest yourself it back to the third dimension when you've already crossed over. And he wanted to save us because I used to take care of his house. I lived in it for 5 or 6 years on and off over a 6 or 7 year period. I spent a year in jail and then went back and lived in the house. And he was glad to have me back, kind of thing. But the idea, so the 88th monkey. So I thought it was sort of a tongue in cheek, I would be like the 88th monkey in the spiritual journey. And so that if I could, if there were 12 more monkeys who would learn how to do, to get to this point, then we would reach the 100th monkey, you know, and that once we reach the 100 monkey threshold, supposedly, and it could be 1,000, it could be 1,000,000. But my point is that in the idea of it, in being the 88th monkey, that maybe as much as I know, as much as I am to this point, how much can I pass on so that maybe there will be somebody else will be the 89th monkey and then the 90th monkey, you know what I mean? And then the consciousness then of us will just, expand, because that's basically their theory, that there is this magical phenomena that happens. Now, they're discussing washing sweet potatoes, but it's the awareness of the monkeys and something anyway. Now I know that I talked about the evolution thing. I am not descended from a monkey, and neither are you. We're more like bananas and squid or something like that. Anyway, Bob, we want to thank you for allowing us to be here. And there are a lot of folks out there. My friend Marcia went back in the hospital. She has lost some balance, but she's lost the use of her right leg, along with it's her right arm that she broke, and they had to put her in a splint, and she got such that um, we couldn't take care of her. Plus, they needed to regulate her electrolytes and so forth. And but anyway, so send out a prayer to my friend Marcia down in the Equipment Hospital, and um, several other folks who are getting better, but had been very worse. So they're very these some of these folks are very impatient, and when you've gone undergone a stress like that, it takes a lot of energy out of you. And to some folks, not no, I don't mean my friend Martha. This is just in general. But you spend so much energy on, what am I going to do? And I broke my arm, and I've had neck injuries and been laid up, and I've had to go through this a lot in my life. And depending on other people, I had to stay with some friends of mine one time because I couldn't stay here by myself. I mean, I'm in a neck brace, my neck's been cut open, my body's been rearranged several times, and there was that period of time when there wasn't anything in between. So um, in that, of the eight, where's this? What does this have to do with the 88th monkey? It's because there are some folks who really deserve to be to learn how to listen. I know it hurts. I'm about busted my ankle 2 weeks ago, and it's much better, thank you. Um, and my back hurts and so forth, and I'm getting old, but today I was thinking, God, I really want to do something. And I said, but I really don't, because my lower back was hurting. A bucket I was on when I was doing some concrete work broke, and I fell backwards onto the concrete. And I've been having extra trouble with my lower back ever since. I'm something moved anyway. But the fact that I can still walk and get around, and I realized I need to get up and move because I was trying to, well, if I just hold still, well, in my case, there's nothing broke, but it is out of place. Other times there are people like my friend Marcia. She's going to have to hold still for a couple of days, maybe a week or 10 days. I mean, hold still, um, and and just not worry. So, but in that though, there are a lot of folks who get impatient, or they have had the trauma and they don't know what to do afterwards. And having had 3 operations on my neck, 2 operations on my knee, and having been in a cast for I think it was 11 months. I've been rounding it up to a year because it took me a lot longer to learn how to walk after that, and all the therapy and everything I went through. And I have, and that was back when I was, um, 16 years old. And I learned how to get around. I learned how to drive a car using one of my crutches. So I could shift. I could shift a little '64 Rambler. It was a shift on the column, and used to drive that thing everywhere. And they were like, "You did what?" Yeah, they didn't know that I would drive around with a crutch on the gas pedal, and my right foot, because my left leg was in a cast straight out, and that I would use the clutch with my right foot and then go to the gas. And so, but anyway, I had it worked out, man. I mean, I was, 1.5 legged kind of thing, but you learn to adapt. But in all of these things, and I've been an adaptant ever since I was a teenager, right? After breaking my leg and everything. Well, I didn't break it, they did, but anyway. But the idea though that in spirituality, we learn from each one of our experiences, right? And rather than consider them a curse, or I have cursed my leg for years, damn it that it got broke, and them guys, and blah blah blah. Anyway, um and then I realized that that was just negative energy. Can't go back there. But what I can do is send my little guys in my head and in my body, the I like to call them Bob the Builders, to go down and work on my knee or work on my back, or hey, go fix this, right? And I'm sending energy to whatever part of my body is broken. And I realized, I found a picture the other day, and I had my hand all bandaged up and everything, and it's where the guard on the saw got stuck, and this handsaw that I was using kept running, and it skated right across the top of my hand. Now, the way I was holding the board was stupid, um, and the fact that the guard was hung up. Um, that was a nasty mistake, and my hand it hurt. Oh my God, it was all cut up, and man, oh man, you think about what a skill saw does to you, does to wood. Well, it does a number on your skin and bone. Probably the reason why this hand hurts a lot. But anyway, um, all of these memories and all of these things that you overcome in time, and whether it's physical or spiritual. Now, for spiritual development, I was reading Heinlein way back before he was popular, Robert Heinlein, and Pode Came to Mars, and a bunch of books that he wrote. They were basically sort of long short stories, if you will. But the amount of imagination and feeling, to me, that he put in his characters. And so, one could say I had a religious experience about aliens back when I was a kid, and looking out the window at Pleiades. And Robert Heinlein provided me this means of being able to explore the idea of outer space, and what if somebody was from that little place up there in the sky, And so you think to yourself, well, I don't know. And then later on, I find out, these other things about my supposedly my heritage, and my own higher self had a discussion with me, So, but anyway, so with that said, each one of these experiences, my mother Mary, the Mr. Croft who woke me up when the house was on fire, and I mean, we barely got out with our lives, and lost everything. And the incidents of me being arrested, or there were other times of things that I have not discussed that were really hairy and really close. And one of these days, I'll tell you about the midnight run from Douglas to Thomasville. Oh, that's an interesting story, and a very true one. But yeah, it involved a little bit of drug running. Okay, just weed, but still, I'll leave it at that. But oh boy, what a tale, what a tangled web we weave. So there are other things in my life that have not been spiritual, but as a result of that, I realized that I had something spiritual, and it was the fact that I I listened to my higher self and my spirit guide going, there's a state patrol and there's a county mountie. You better turn. And I took a long way home through the back way, through some places, and there were cops behind us, and there were cops in front of us with a roadblock, and I managed to slip them, and they chased us for like 50 miles, and they didn't get us. They got her when she got home because they knew where she lived, but they never got. Oh boy, there was some pissed off state patrol and county. 3 counties, no, actually 4. But anyway, but it was the warning. It was, don't go up there. You need to right now. And I was like, literally, like, and turn left. So, but what I got out of that was that don't go be doing that kind of stuff. And the other thing was that I was listening to my inner self and my spirit guide, and they were like, there's a roadblock up there with your name on it. And you better do something and listen to me right now. Turn left, turn right, turn left, go down, and bypassed it. They thought they had all the exits covered. Little did they know I knew all about that area that I was in. But um, what does that have to do with the 88th monkey? Every little bit of stuff that I have learned, don't do that. Listen to your feelings, pay attention. So, I was looking at the signs. If I had not been observant, we'd have been busted and spent a bunch of time in jail. And so getting out of situations because you listen to your gut or an angel drops in front of you and says, turn now, you go, okay, so you learn to stay out of trouble. You learn to not get into trouble or put yourself in a situation that will get you in trouble, which is what I was prone to do. And if you go back over my career, if you will, there's probably 88 dumb things that I've done in my lifetime that were close calls or I got caught. And if you tallied them all up, it'd probably amount to 88 stupid things that I've done in my lifetime, whether getting caught or not, and that, do I need 12 more, incidents before I learn to wash off my sweet potato, my spiritual sweet potato? So, but in this idea, though, there is no sliding scale. I think Michelle said at one time that, it's like linear, that's it. What do we want to do on our spiritual path? What do we wish to learn? So what I've done and what many of you have done and what other people that may join this channel at another time or watch this video, you're searching for spirituality. You're reading, you're listening to other channels, you're listening to other opinions, other people's experiences, and you're drawing, you can't just jump over here and say, well, um, this guy's got all the answers. I know damn well I don't have all the answers because I'm only the 88th monkey. You know what I mean? I still got some stuff to learn. And so I've learned all these other things, but I've learned how to brush off the tater. That's a really bad example, but I think I would have figured out, go dump it in whatever and wash the sand off. But I'm not a monkey. But animals and critters and everything, as we've talked about before, in nature have evolved. They've adapted. That's their evolution, is they've adapted to current circumstances. But in that does that mean that it took 88 or 100 birds, for example, to learn how to use plastic in a nest? Or did they just, excuse me, or did they find it just to be a convenient source of lining, like straw or paper or, because I found paper and things in nests. So cellophane or a piece of plastic or something that's wrapped inside a bird's nest, they've learned to adapt. That's a smart ass bird that figured that out, and that was a smart monkey. Now, I don't consider myself smart in that degree, in that it took me 88 tries, to get this far. It's a joke. I have no idea about the sliding scale of spirituality. Now, I've thought about this, like If somebody came along and said, listen, did you know that you're working for the wrong side? And I'd go, what? Now I've had some suspicions for about something for a while, but this is not the place to discuss it right now. But anyway, I know there are key players in place, but how many times on our spirituality are we going to, keep doing the same dumb things over and over again? Like, I was thinking the other day about the folks who are doing the spell casting and Wiccan. And now I know some really fine people who are into Wiccan. I mean, really fine people. And wouldn't hurt a fly, might squash a flea. But um, the idea, though, that they had to use paraphernalia type devices to to do their ceremonies. Now, in some ceremonies that I do, I have my paraphernalia. I ain't gonna lie about that. I mean, a medicine bag can be a very powerful thing, and your flute, your tool, sage and bowl, and maybe a spirit stick or something like that you have, or a crystal or a rock, just whatever. It's needed for that particular ceremony, and your intention behind it. So, with all of that said, what do we do in order to feel like we've made a difference spiritually? Do we compare ourselves to other people? I have tried that, and it's you can't do it. You can't do it. When you reach the point of spirituality, where when you look at somebody else, and Brian and I spoke about this off camera a couple of times on camera, and that there are some folks who seem to be making really great progress. And they were looking around, and this feeling of spirituality and this awareness came over them. And it was like, yes, good for you. And then the next thing you know, they're off over here on a tangent and working on sigils and spells and Wiccan and this and that. And it's like, wait a minute, I just observed you have a spiritual moment. Did that go away? So it's almost like they reached a certain point and they loop back around. And I've been watching folks, and I don't know whether or not it's um, they're faking it, or they feel like they have to keep something going. They can't find anything fresh, so where do they go with if you reach this certain idea of wait a minute, it's an aha moment, and I guess they didn't reach the same aha moment that some of us have had. And I realized that my aha moment ain't the same as yours. And in having conversations with people, it's like, well, wait, they tell me some absolutely wonderful things. And I but wait a minute, you had this happen and this happened. Those were all good experience, right? Yeah, well, it freaked me out. Well, me too. Well, well, what about this and that? Yeah, okay. So and I did a video on this before about confidence. So they've had these experiences and they've got this knowledge. They've seen glimpses of themselves, if you will, in their own experiences. They've seen their own spirituality, but they don't have the confidence to go, well, I guess it's real, or. And so, does it take each one of us 100 times in our search for spirituality to have that nirvana? I can float off the ground, whether that's actually what my intention is or not. But the idea, though, that our consciousness is our subconscious. Listen, our conscious is our subconscious. because we have ideas and things that come from our subconscious into our conscious. Okay. At the same time, our unconsciousness includes our conscious state because we remember, unless our brain's been severely damaged. I mean, I've had like, over 20 really serious head. Anytime they say you see stars, little bubbles and your head spins and you fall down and you want to puke, that's a head concussion. I've had so many of them. Honest to God, I'm not bragging. It's a wonders that I actually can still speak and talk. But in the spiritual realm of things, we have to understand that our unconscious mind is got a lot of information in there because it's picking up on sights and sound. There are times when I've picked up a book and read a passage and go, I remember reading this. It's been 25 years ago, but I remember reading this. So somewhere in a stored memory is this little clip of me reading out of this book. Okay. So not really clear, and it's not the whole thing because I'm rereading the story because I don't remember a lot of it, but I remember certain points. Oh yeah, the tank came out of the thing. Oh yeah, I remember this. A spaceship shot this thing. I remember that. So, but in different books or different stories that I've read, over again. And then in reading them now versus then, I've gotten a lot of like insight. Well, I remember what it was, and now I remember what it is, what I feel like now after reading it. So it's like, and I feel more spiritual about those things which I've read, or I see spiritual things in what the authors wrote, and go, wow, I didn't catch that before. And I've read that story, picked it up, and wow, there's really like a really deep plot in this if you read if you're really reading the characters. So, and in this though, we're always seeking and searching, whether we're paying attention or not. Our subconscious is picking it up. Now, also in our subconscious, if we have spoke our intent that we wish to be of higher frequency, we wish to be better people, we wish to learn what type of beings we were before now and so forth, help me to find the light that I am, help me to rediscover myself, you know, um, and allow me to, understand what my connection is with the universe. So, all you people tonight thinking I was going to do a video, here I am. See, I was like, well, maybe not. All right, here we go. And I gave you all 30 minutes to think about it, or 25 actually. So, and it's all your fault. But in that though, so I've looked at how spirituality has been kind of morphing, on the planet. And there are some people that are just, they're not buying this, they're not buying that, they're not buying into some of the chaos. Where before they would have went, now that's interesting. And now they're just saying, oh hell no. No, 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 no. No, sorry. Um Politically, business wise, I mean, when I discussed the fact that, how did all these masks and everything get suddenly on the market for all these millions of people? And millions of people have to have multiple masks. I mean, I'm still really shocked at the fact that somebody didn't know about this ahead of time. Cherry, hi, how are you? David Castle, hi, how are you? Failures are not failures, they are learning experiences. Yep, you learned how not to do it, but you did not fail. Well, there were some instances I know I failed, but I learned in that. Like I should not have done, spent time in jail. I went to this, I lost that, I lost this. That's failure. That's failure. Um, on a personal level, like, man, could you be that stupid? Yep. But then you could always say, but it's circumstances. I didn't know that they were going to be flying a helicopter over my backyard, looking for weed. But anyway, um, the idea though that no matter what you do, there's always some kind of risk in it, especially if it's illegal in the state of Georgia, which it still is. I think it's a shame that, we can't just grow our own and be done with it. But our progression spiritually. So our if you reach the point, and this is sort of one of the realizations that helped me go, whoa, because there are things that are in your subconscious that some things want to come out and other things are going, nah, 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 we ain't coming out. We're going to hide over here in the corner. So in doing that soul work, it's not necessarily that you have to go, and you shouldn't, that you have to go beat yourself up for something guilty or whatever. I've talked about all the thing, a lot of stuff that's happened with me, and that carrying the guilt forward is out of the question. You got to drop it. You must drop it. And there was the other day I was feeling a little melancholy, and I realized that melancholy was about that close to depression, and that I didn't want either. But I realized that sometimes the spirit, it's sort of like being angry. You can be angry for 5 minutes, then shut it down. But melancholy, well, it stays around a little longer. But now when I feel what melancholy is, and this is part of the learning experience of spirituality, is that I feel melancholy and realize, whoops, that's like having, a good, a 2 ounce shot of tequila. You're on your way to getting stoned, high, drunk, you know? So, especially if you keep it up. So, one good drink, okay, I've had my dose, but that's it. And I've learned how to do that with alcohol. I've got gin over there in a bottle. I got Jack Daniels sitting up here. And it's to remind me I used to drink that much a day, and on a weekend even more. And how much money I spent on beer and liquor and, oh well, let's not even go into the drugs, but the drugs had to pay for themselves, but the liquor and alcohol I bought on with my own check, kind of thing. So, but and all of that money was literally pissed down the drain, right? So we learn from our experiences. So, um, in some of the young folks that I've met recently, they have there is an inbred, I don't, as not inbreeding, but it's an inbred feeling that some of this stuff that they see going on, and it's across the board, and pick a subject if they know about it, and they will have a forthright opinion and go, I just don't think that's right. And it's like, what? You're 9 years old, 10 years old, and what's going on? And you people already have this concept. My one of my, I consider her my niece, but we're not related. I've been Uncle Dave to a lot of people for a lot of years. So Uncle Dave is one of my friend's grandchildren. So I'm a great uncle, I guess, in that respect. But anyway, But she's turned 12 and she's already designing bridges. What? She goes, yeah, I have to take an engineering class this semester in school, and but we get to use this, and we're actually going to learn how to 3D print. And I'm like, and what grade are you in, girl? I want to learn how to 3D print. Why didn't they teach that to kids back when I was in school, right? Oh no, it was all academia. But then I went to tech school and learned about mechanics and stuff on my own and became an engineer and so forth, and apprenticed in many shops to learn how to build stuff. But anyway, if that CNC machine ever breaks down, it'll take a person with a, a Bridgeport milling machine at a lathe to make the parts to put back in it. But that's okay. Um, yeah, just get another CNC machine. Um, the consciousness and the unconscious. So one of the trips I had to go down, and without any kind of drugs, but I had to. I guess it's sort of like being in the dream state, okay, where you're about to wake up, but you're not, and so you can hear stuff around you, but you're still a little bit in the dream. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So in that's the time when the conscious and the unconscious are both awake. So in your dream state, the things that kaleidoscope through your brain that you can't go to sleep about. And I've talked about this before, you have to let them run. You have to let the pictures go by. But don't stop and focus on anything. Just let it go by let the day go by. Just don't stop and watch it. Just let it go on fast forward like a tape machine. It is okay. Go forward but let it play, because then it lets that amount of RAM it goes into memory, but it doesn't stay, in that, oh crap. So, but your conscious and your subconscious in that sub sleep state, all the information is attainable if we could use that state of mind to get what we need, the questions answered. But in our dream state, unless we're having a freaking nightmare, our dream state normally is a calm state. So in our subconscious, and I've used the technique before, and it's self hypnosis, but it's also in learning how to become that other spirit self. So it's like I've talked about on how to read time. Use one clock, always look at it. Don't try to read it, just look at it. And I get so close at times. I just, and I've been doing this for 40 years now. Um, but as the 88th monkey, what got me to a certain point about the clock and the time and other things that have come along, you got to start somewhere. So if you haven't started trying to figure out what time it is without looking at your clock and saying, okay, and blink your eyes closed for a second and visualize that clock, and anymore, I just kind of know. But in that, it comes with practice. So if you want to become a spiritual being, you can't say, "Ooh, I'm all spiritual today," and you meditate and and everything's groovy, and then you don't do it for 2 weeks, or life gets in and you go, "I don't have time for this," or blah 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 blah, and you get distracted. Life does that to us. It's done it to me. It's done it to you. But the thing is that what I've learned is that, and maybe I'm higher, I'm further along the road because I don't have to go back and repeat certain steps. And I can see by my skid marks in the dirt road behind me, I've come close to going in the ditch a few times, and I have backtracked several times to kind of look at where I was and then to reflect. But instead of, it's okay to go back to a point to look at that perspective. But if you have to walk through the same damn foot places that you did before and go through the same crap to get where you turned around to go back and look, yeah, you really haven't learned much. Because it's all right to go back to a point and go, well, like for me, and when I was working with sigils and things and stuff, I can go back to that point, and it doesn't take me long to realize, especially now in my experiences. I don't want to, I can't go back there and relive that, but I can go back and discuss it. I can look at it and remember, there's this that happened, and I was looking into that, and then this happened, and that happened, and then spirit kicked me in the ass, and then I was like, ooh. So, but I don't have to live back here on the dirt road. So I go back there and I can look at that spot and the circumstances, if you will. But then I go, oh, So then I don't have to trudge through the mud to get where I was. I just go back. I'm just like one great big giant step, and I go back on this where I left off in the road. So other people, though, are going backwards, and they're looking backwards instead of forward. That somehow something they missed something as far as they've gotten in spirituality. Well, I feel like this and blah blah blah. And some folks aren't content. Well, but there must be some magic. I heard about this magic stuff, and I heard about this and magical wands. And what are you going to do with it? Well, I got a magical wand. Yeah, but what are you going to do with it? You don't understand your own energies yet, but you're going to get a magical wand and go do spiritual things. You do not have your collective stuff together. Oh, but it's neat, and I really want one. What are you going to do with it? I mean, seriously, what are you going to do with it? To just grab onto something and, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. No. As a shaman, you would look at a stick, you would consider the stick as I did with that staff that I found that's somewhere here in the house. I got to find it. It's been calling to me. The staff that I got at the powwow, it needs some carvings on it. Now, one could say, one could say that symbols that, like an eagle or something, or a hawk or some of the Native American signs that you've seen, like a dream catcher, or the circle with the cross, right? And I can't think of it at the moment, but and other symbols, if you will. And that sort of be like a Christian and having a cross. Choose to consider his life, not his death, and what he taught. If the story is anywhere near true, but I'm just saying. So I would wish to see the countenance of Jesus before and after, not during the execution. So it keeps me in a better frequency, because if I'm always thinking about his death, which I was, and the suffering and the mankind is suffering, and then I would go into a suffering mode, and that I had to absorb this somehow. There's all this suffering, and I'm going to pray against it. All I was doing was focusing on the suffering. So my prayers weren't going anywhere. And in my subconscious mind, I was troubled. So by going on this spirit journey, where it's like walking the fence between twilight and daytime, or, it's almost night, but you can still see. And, so you're in that place in your mind. So if you use a self-hypnosis technique, like You want to know one particular thing. Pick one item. Where did I really originate from? And leave it at that. But you focus on that. So, and you put this, if I'm in the dream state, I will remember where I'm truly from. And, you just say it before you go to sleep, and just tell your subconscious what you want while you're in your conscious mind. Because when you go into the subconscious, it won't know what you want, right? You know it in the conscious mind, and it's recorded in your subconscious, but it's put in a separate file, if you will. All right. It's like today's events. And in today's events, Hawkeye said this. Well, if Hawkeye says, okay, I want to remember this separate from my day or whatever else is going on, I want my brain to hear this. Pay attention. So then that is your mantra, if you will, for that, for what you want to know. And it's just one question, and don't make it complex. Where did I come from? How did I get here? No, you don't want both of them, because if you get the information about where you came from, you may get the information of how you got here, meaning spiritually or from another planet or just whatever. So, and you have to understand that, okay, what do I really want to know? Well, we have to have patience. So you try this for a week with one subject. And if at the end of the week the answer doesn't pop up or whatever, go to you're back, go to another question. And something may have come up during that time. You may have had a dream, and it may be the next day that you give up asking the question that actually something actually happens. It's strange that way. So, but as being the 88 monkey, now I've considered spirituality, and when I'm looking across the world and the internet and I'm looking at chats and things and stuff and people's comments, and I'm thinking, now the remarks of this person is really tough and angry and vicious, and I don't think they get it. I think they're a long way from actually being the spiritual person that says do no harm and understand what it means. Well, I'm a Christian. We got the Bible. Well, it says don't do this in a bunch of places, and one of them is don't kill and don't covet. That's all things that hurt people. So if you do the one rule, don't hurt anything, then you got it covered. But in spiritual reality, people go, well, I don't know about that. And they'll go over here and they'll do this and they'll do it that. I saw something. It was on Futurama. Oh God, it was funny. They found these little berries, okay, these little purple berries, and they were like, and I think it was Leela that found them, right, the one-eyed girl, and Katie Seagal, she's great. Her voice actor is just great. But so they picking these little purple berries, right? And woo, it was so good. And then as they were eating them, these great big monsters came in and said, "You must stop what you're doing. You are eating our young." And it was in this big pool, and they were hungry and they didn't know. So they go through this whole thing about not eating these little bubbly things, be like caviar or something, I guess, or you know, people down here in the South eat roe, which is fish eggs. Don't like them personally, but I understand why, if you were hungry and that there's a lot of protein there. But anyway, um, so in this though, they go through this big thing about, we can't harm these, and the beings wanted to take Leela's life in exchange for all the what everybody else had eaten. I mean, they were selling them and doing. I mean, they were really exploiting these little babies, and so they shut down the business and all this stuff. So at the end of this series, right, they go, "Oh yeah, we shouldn't eat any little babies or anything like that." And they go, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we got this really great meal." And Leela says, "Yeah, so pass me the veal." Which is young calves that are fed, okay. So in all of this and saving little baby critters and animals that look like berries, they're eating veal. I was like, how ironic. I was like, I busted out laughing. I just busted out laughing. And I still snicker about it. But here's the thing. In all of our awareness of things, so here these little purple berries belong to the, they're little tiny animals. They're gonna grow, but a young calf or this or anyway, when do we realize, or do we ever? And being a vegetarian, just outright to me, I was a strict vegetarian. Now I ate dairy products and eggs, but other than that, no hamburgers, no meat, no greasy stuff for several years. And now I'm like halfway in between. I'll get on a kick where, I realize that I just need a piece of beef. I eat very little pork. I haven't had chicken in a long time because I know what they look like around here when they raise them. And I just don't want them. Cows a little different, and I've raised hogs before and don't want to eat them much. Sometimes a rack of ribs though is just really tasty, barbecued on the grill. And now that I got Duggar over here, then the bones he needs a little bit of bone chewing. Um, so in my life, I've realized that what's necessary and what isn't. In spirituality, if you're really serious about what you're looking for, that you will realize there are certain things you just don't need to rely on. In talking with a friend of mine, they said that, they're, believe it or not, they said, there are sometimes I read my Bible. And I wasn't shocked, but in the spirituality of things, that there are sometimes my Bible, I got two Bibles sitting right over here. I got my spirit books, I've got other things. And so in my spiritualness, if I need a little clarification or need a little something, I go for it. If the spirit moves you and you need to read something in this book, then open it up and see what page it is and go for it. And maybe it'll calm your mind. Maybe there's something in there that just will take your mind off of whatever else is bothering you. Who knows what the situation may be? And if a Bible is what you feel that you should read, go for it. If it's the Koran or the something or this, if it's a comic book, a Scooby Doo, if it makes you feel better or gives you some insight, whatever it may be, your spirit might need that at the time. But that's where the 88th monkey comes in. When you realize that picking up a simple, now I don't mean just looking around over here, but sometimes you're drawn to things and you go, what's over there? Like I was helping my friend out the other night, and she wanted this little bottle of lavender. And she said, it's in over here and go look for it. And I went in there and looked around. I couldn't spot. So I just said, I closed my eyes and said, okay, spirit, show me where the bottle is. And it was behind me. I turned around and there it was. And I was like, there you go. See? So, but in learning that over the years, you have to trust it. Now, I could have spent 20 minutes in that room looking for that bottle because it wasn't where she thought it was. And it wasn't nowhere near another. She said it's by the something. Anyway, it wasn't by the something. But spirit said, "It's look, just turn around," and it was right there. And I was like, "No, that's just interesting." So, in things that we ask for, sometimes the answer is literally right behind us, and sometimes, but do we trust that instinct? And that comes with practice. So, how much do we practice this? All the time. So when I wake up in the morning or the afternoon or the middle of whatever, I just thank the creator and the universe that I'm still here. I woke up again, even though it's bothersome. I got to go pee again, and it's in the middle of the night. But I woke up on my own, didn't pee myself. All those are good things. And I woke up so I could go to the bathroom. I mean, all right, my sleep is interrupted, but I'm still here. Okay. Things are in your subconscious that came when we came. All right. They're not necessarily implanted. They're they come with us. So it's like we've got our own little record book and stuff, as a little tiny baby, and we, get plopped down here in side of being a child. And I have, raised children, have grandchildren, other not my grandchildren, but other grandchildren, and have worked with kids a lot over the years at all different ages in theater and doing puppet shows. I mean, just on a lot of stories. So, in my watching how kids at different levels, and sometimes regardless of the parents, they have reached a certain amount of awareness, and some of it's spiritual, some of it's mechanical, some of it is, nonsensical. But we all reach a certain point of awareness when a 3 or 4 year old actually understands what they're doing. They just don't get up and walk across the room. They're going to the other room for a specific thing. That's a realization that, grandma's got cookies in the kitchen. And so as a 3 year old, you want a cookie and it's not on the table and you look around, but that's as far as it goes, right? So, but the next level up is going, I grandma's got them in the kitchen. I know where she keeps the cookies. So that's the next level of awareness. So, in this understanding of spirituality and of the 88th monkey idea, or the 100th monkey, are we, we're at the stage where we like cookies. And the last one we had was on the table. So we're going to look around. But now that the cookies are gone, we're going to try to figure out where them cookies come from. Well, yeah, if somebody brought them in. Yeah, it was the big tall lady that we call mom. Okay. So, but in our spiritual realm and things, we get cookies all the time. And the spirituality, if we get that good white in here kind of yummy feeling, then that's the cookie, right? So oh boy, somebody's got sweet tater pie. I ain't going back in that again, but I still want some. Um, the idea though that spiritually then are we going to have how are we going to have to remember how to do it every time? Do we have to go back down the road and look where we was and go, oh yeah, and then trudge back up to our current position and waste all that time? Or are we, if we realize that the information is in our subconscious, lots and lots and lots of it, because in our dreams we go places, and our because our spirit goes out and does whatever it does, those spirit memories, guess where they are? In our heads. So if you go out floating around somewhere and do something then you come back, you go, well, I had this really weird dream. If you really need the information, it's stored in a cell somewhere. Now some of it has been uploaded to the cloud. The clouds. But some things just aren't necessary, and after a while files get dumped. But it's been really strange for me at 68 to remember certain things, and I remember certain things clearly, but it's not how somebody else remembers it. And I'm going, but we were both there. Well, yeah, but we did this and this, and there were times where I went, yeah, you're right. And then there were times that the other person went, oh, that's right. So they remembered it differently than I did. Both of us were there 20 years ago. So, and I don't argue with folks anymore. I just go, okay, that's not quite how I remember it. And I leave it at that. Well, what do you remember? Nothing. Yeah, yeah, okay. I must have had something wrong. And sometimes it's like way off. And sometimes there's like a particular detail. Anyway, but so as the 88th monkey, if we try one more time to access our subconscious with all this information that's stored there, and to understand that we have an uplink to the universe. So not only do we have our thoughts, but you have to work on that one. So you work on the fact that I'm going to start learning how to bridge the gap in my conscious mind to my subconscious memory, because it's in there. Yeah, well, but I don't remember doing it. That's because you was asleep and in your astral body or dream world. So, but you still have the memory. So, so you learn how to access this in this awakened semi state. So, in being out on the river and out in and seeing the universe and all this, and the out of body experience while awake is just wow. And not high on anything. Well, maybe a couple hits of weed, but just to. But I mean, really not high, just relaxed. So out there in the middle of the universe and having the stars at your fingertips, on water ah, and then you have this experience. Now, I've had them in the mountains, I've had them at the seashore, but there was water involved almost always, because the running water, or even like where I was at, it's like a lake, but the river comes into it, forms this great big lake, and then runs out at another point. So it's not really a lake. It's a large, wide spot, a really large, wide spot in the river. They dug the sand out of it. There used to be a lot of brick companies around Thomasville and Cairo. They made all their own bricks. So they needed sand for glass, and there was a bottling company, and there was but anyway, um, water helps with connecting to the universe, because connecting to water, having your feet just touch water, especially if it's flowing, connects to all the other water on the rest of the planet. I mean, you have the entire planet and the energy. So if you understand that just by having it, just by touching it, it can help you with your thing, right? And because we're a lot of bodily fluids within us, so but that's understanding, it's realization, it's being the 90th monkey. Well, look, it's this and this and this and this, and all of these things are clear, are clear. And there are things like, I used to understand about the Kundalini and stuff. I studied it years ago, and then I had a brain got smacked in the head, and I can't retain it. I went back over it. I understand about the chakras. I understand, and in one of the cleansing ceremonies for yourself with the crystal is to go around each of your chakras with the crystal, and you create sort of an opposing. You go around this way, and then this one turns into this one, which is counter, and then this one below, it goes the opposite way again, and so it's clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, anyway, or counter then clockwise. It depends on what you're trying to fix with your chakras. I just know that if I need a little energy or something, I can hold a crystal here. I can do this, So going through these channeling, but as I sit here and think about it, that's really not a bad idea for me to do again. I need to look back into that. And so as someone who has all this information, you see, that just came up from my subconscious. I've known about that for going on 45 years, maybe even 50 years about that. And so it goes back to some Edgar Casey teachings and some understanding about the body. And yeah, the spirits are saying, yeah, we helped you remember that so you could start doing it again. So, but anyway, so even an old hand like me can, there's stuff in my subconscious I already know about. Well, but that particular thing I've not practiced, and I should. They're saying, okay. And as I remember it, I will show it to you all. I'll share this information because that's one of the things that, in my realization for what is my role here, I am the communicator. And whether or not I'm actually a teacher, and I know many of you have said, man, you're the guru, you're the dude, man. And I thank you for that. But at the same time, the more I learn, the more I understand, the more humble I become and go, yeah, but I don't really, this is just scratching the surface, and I know that there are a lot of folks out there who have a lot of information, but in the confidence area, they are a tenderfoot, and the coals are hot, and they're scared, they need some contact with someone, and maybe I'm helping out in that area, and that they have confidence in something that you may not be doing. And it's like, listen, if you didn't have confidence yesterday, then ask for it for tomorrow. If you don't get it today, and that don't get your panties in a bunch, consider, okay, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, I still haven't done it. There are a couple of chores I still haven't done, and I'm using it what's in my head as an example. Listen, you didn't do it today. Yeah, I know, I watched the football game. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you and the dog. Well, we went outside a couple of times, but there are mosquitoes out there that they're as big as, butterflies, humongous things, and they're like everywhere. And it was hard to be outside today, so I spent more time in and out killing mosquitoes around the door to keep them from coming in the house. Anyway, so I was like, well, shame on you. You could have done this or that. Yeah, and I could have just watched that football game too. But in that though, I was going through this 88 monkey. So there were times when I was watching the game that I realized, well, I wasn't really watching the game. I was going through this idea of the 88 monkey and spirituality. And since I had this idea of the 88 monkey, and I'm honestly trying not to, I have reached these certain levels. But at the same time, I have reached these certain levels within my own self because I've had these moments of realization. And you can only get there by having, gone through going through practice and going through the process of, calming yourself, trusting yourself, doing those things. Hey, Barry Chad, is that right? David Castle, the brick. Oh, Deborah Truax. Hi, Michelle, still again. Um, so there was other things that I've talked about too previously, but in this spiritual awareness and understanding, and are we the 88th monkey? Well, there may be folks out there who is the 90th monkey and the 92nd, the 93rd, and the night, So whoever reaches, if we keep this up, we will reach that point where then our realization, like the 100th monkey, all the other monkeys will know. Just they won't have to have practiced it. That we will have understood the awareness enough that it will just get magically shared with all the other monkeys, as in the idea of the 100th monkey. So it's something for us to consider. And you go, well, I'm not having any grand effect. Now there's a lot of those who would criticize the guys that did the 100 monkey thing, but the truth of the matter is this: they threw the sweet potatoes in the sand. The monkeys did not like the sand on the sweet potatoes, and after a while figured out how to wash them. That's the truth. How many monkeys it took doesn't matter. It's the fact that they learned how to do it on their own. Now, they could have watched the men or the people on the island that were staying there observing the monkeys and said, well, those people wash their pots and pans. They're used the water. So maybe they, drew some kind of connection or something, but now they wash off their food and stuff. There are those that fished for clams or something, and they'd reach down in the water and they'd shovel around and they'd crack them on a rock with a stick and break these clams open and then wash them at the stuff off in the water. And it's like, okay, so animals are doing that, but does it make them human? No. They can climb a tree. I can't. At least I not anymore. But I can't scramble up a tree. I don't have a prehensile tail. Now, chimpanzees don't have tails, nor gorillas or orangutans. But they're in the primate, realm species. But when we understand that animals can learn and adapt to situations, and they've been doing it all along. It's that when we observe them doing it, we go, oh, wow, those monkeys are really smart. Or somehow they figured, and it took 100 monkeys to do it. And we sat there and watched these little, buggers, climb around and do whatever. So who are the monkeys watching whom? The monkeys were living naturally watching these big white baboons or, watching them in the wild. You know what I mean? So who were the watchers and who was the watchees? But in the spiritual realm of things, when you reach certain points, you just can't go back. I mean, there are certain things I just understand that I don't care what you do to me. I'm not going to deny that the experience happened or it existed or how it made me feel or anything like that. It ain't going to happen. I'm not going to go back on it. Having nothing to do really with anybody else, but it's honor to myself. And I feel that those things that I have learned seriously do have me more connected to the universe. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got out of bed to do this video in the middle of the night, like some of you wanted. I love you. But still, the point though, um, I understand what my role is. I understand, for whatever I was selected for a long time ago. I'm here now trying to do the best job that I can. So in this 88th monkey, I'm hoping there are other monkeys out there like me. So as we reach for these higher levels of understanding and we reach more into our subconscious and bring these things forward, some people would say manifest. I just don't like using that word manifest. But anyway, it reminds me too much of a magician going, here we go, poof. I'm not into that. So, and I'm just careful with using that word, but we can generate thoughts and through our actions actually create something. Like I've talked about before, in theater, you pick a play, you pick a thing, you pick the time, and then you start gathering a cast and a crew, and you start, and then eventually, before the due date, you have enough people and the stuff together, and you perform the play. And so you create something out of a thought. Well, hey, let's get together and do this. Okay, so we can sit and talk about it all day long. But it's once we do something and we act upon that thought. So I think, wow, I'd really like to have a porch out there. I didn't know I was going to have to dig out all these roots, but that's the reason for the porch. And tomorrow I'm going to go buy some more cement and get my ass back on to digging the footer again. My day off, my Sunday. Okay, I watch football today. But tomorrow, our future, what we choose to do, and how am I going to feel tomorrow? And I'm already telling myself, regardless of how sore I am tomorrow, we're going to go into town and we got to get a couple of small supplies, and I'm going to get some more cement for the porch. I don't care how I feel. Me and Doug are going to go take a ride tomorrow. You know, that's that. Now, circumstances might come up where I don't, but right now, and my point is that I've already said to myself, I've been telling my brain, I don't care how we feel tomorrow, a little stiff or grumpy, whatever, we're going to go. Okay. We need to, it's been before it rains again. Let's go get this done. And so I'm putting that forward for tomorrow. And if something comes up, then Tuesday. Um, but in our spiritual awareness, in trying to, for me to try to keep out the ego, I was like, well, so by what criteria do I meet the the criteria of being the 88 monkey? So, how much spirituality must you understand to be the 88th monkey? Are there, okay, so there's 12 more monkeys, but what do those 12 more monkeys need to learn to get to 100 so everybody understands? That's supposed to be the phenomenon. Now, the correlation I find to this and what their spirits are telling me is that the higher beings have been saying all along, we all need to work on this. And as we raise our vibrations, it raises the vibrations of the planet. Now, they've been talking about this, okay, for those of us who've been listening to the alien thing for a long time now, and, other spiritual advice. But if this holds true with the 100th monkey, then the more of us who become more aware and our spirituality expands and our thought process and our connection to the universe, in a way, we're going to drag some folks along and I'm always saying, I pray to that we learn how to accept and receive and to share this knowledge. Because ask your neighbor, an acquaintance, somebody you meet on the street. you know so as for every individual, then we become the 100th monkey instead of just being 88, so that the whole group of us will just wake up and go, what? And now, in I'll tell part of the prophecy. I still haven't done the video, but um, it's a really hard for me to go back into the remembrance of it and to tell it like I saw it. It hurts, but I can explain something in the prophecy that I saw for vision. Okay, prophecy, yeah, that too. But it was that there are those individuals on this planet that without a serious going over are just not going to get it. They're just not going to get it. And I have met some of these people. You might have met some of these people. And I've learned how to talk nice and learned how to I say manipulate my words, but construct them in such a way that I could get an answer without it sounding to be where they don't go in a defensive mode. Hey, Fox, how are you? Preach it, eh? Yeah. Thank you. And did anybody else come in? Barry, Michelle, like the hundredth something phenomena. Yeah. Good night, Mr. Castle. Um, we have to be able to look at our own spiritual development. That's a good word. Our development. You know, can have you been able to learn how to see the clock and tell time? Yes or no? It's a questionnaire, I guess. Have you been able to successfully do at least one astral projection and you remember it and can, yes or no? Okay. Can you sit down and meditate and, you know, kind of see another world, you know, without any kind of ayahuasca or anything and understand what you're seeing and, you know, can, you know, and every time you do this, we understand, but have ever had at least one experience? Okay, check. So now in this, I have spoken with people over the years, as I've spoken with you folks too, and I look back on it, and there were people. There's a someone who is very troubled right now, and he promised he would come see me, and he hasn't come to see me, and he really needs to come to see me, but he's ashamed to come to see me. And if I pressure him into coming to see me, he'll go the opposite direction even faster. So I have to send it out there, and you know, and hope to Jesus he, you know, will come out here as he promised. But I'm seriously afraid that something he might really do something stupid. Um, and that just would just be wrong in the universe. But anyway, um, we have to be able. I could see this person who was had done this and had done that and was working on the third, and now life has gotten them involved, and in order to be spiritual, family and friends were like, but you got to go to this Baptist church over here, or you got to go to this holiness church, which is even worse. But you know, and that and as you've heard me talk about, their stick is this: if you're going to be spiritual, then you must have the Bible and you must look at it this way. And you know, preach it, brother. You know, I've been there with the Bible and I've preached on Sundays. And I realized that, yeah, but these folks are not getting it because they're not seeing this whole greater picture. What's transpired in the last 2,000 years? Where are we now? We as a group, have we really gotten any smarter? We've got a lot of intelligent stuff and technologies and things, but are we as a species any really smarter about the universe? No, because we let all the machines do it for us. Now, I got to say that machines, and I've worked with AutoCAD and 3D and all that kind of stuff. And so I have lived in the virtual world, but at the same time, I can understand how that is practical in this world. Now, there are some things that are created in the virtual world and it stays there, it doesn't become a part. I made pieces and machinery and stuff in 3D, and it went to someone they made it, molded it, cast it, machined it, whatever needed to be done to complete that drawing. So it was created because something needed to be made. And I get everything on this planet has got a drawing about it. This laptop, tables, chairs, whatever. There's a drawing somewhere that has the dimensions, the angles, the type of wood. Yep. everything. Cardboard boxes have dimensions and how they're going to be folded and pressed. Oh, yeah. And then there's the drawings for the machines that make the molds and stuff, you know? So there are drawings at all levels for everything. That's good. But it's not done on paper anymore. It's all in a reality on the computer. Now you can print them out, and that's what I did. I printed them out, kept logs and all that, and everything, and changes on all the drawings. It was a big job. But over the 7 years that I worked there, in 1 year alone, I saved them almost $1 million in tooling. $1 million stayed in, and that's how they could pay me. They didn't pay me that kind of salary though. I should have went for 10% of their savings. That'd have been 100 grand to me. Ooh, that'd have been sweet. But anyway, what I know now. So, as the 88th monkey, the responsibility is for me to teach the 88% that I know. Now, that's assuming it's 88%. You know what I'm saying? This is all figurative. Um, but in looking back on spirituality, though, I do see where my understanding of things, and I look around, and the first thing that comes to my mind is, now, Dave, you're just being a snob. And I wait, hang on, hang on, wait a minute. These folks are not talking what they did a year ago. They're talking about this again. And they went backwards, and now they're talking about this again. And they're going through this whole thing. Well, what happened to the spirituality? What happened to that out of the awakening? I still remember the awakening. I still remember that feeling. And I'm still in this place looking, forward still. But now, at some point, there are people who claim to be a carpenter, for example. I was watching this commercial, and this person was driving this nail in this board in the middle of a 2x4. It was just a 2x4 laying there, and they were just hammering this nail. And I was like, they were going to nail it, because where the nail was going to nail it to the sawhorse they were on. And I realized that it was just a commercial, but it was like, whoever set it up had never been a carpenter, is my point. They could have been doing this or that, or they could have had this board over somewhere else and them actually nailing it into something. But no, the nail they were putting in the middle of this board was going to nail it to, guess what? The sawhorse. So I was like, so the understanding of, well, they know a lot about lighting and camera and positioning, but they didn't know anything about carpentry. You see what I mean? So in this, I'm like, every time I see it, I laugh my butt off. I go, ha ha ha! She's going to nail that board to that thing. But I realized they weren't a carpenter. They're producers. I've met these folks, right? I've worked in theater and stage and radio, and some television. I used to do local calling of football games on local cable access back in the day. And that was a lot of fun. I really got a kick out of that, doing high school football games. But anyway. The venue has changed, and I can't do it anymore, which is really a shame, because I would love to go do the football games again. But anyway, the idea, though, that in our spiritual development, we have to see progress made. We have to be able to go, well, at some point, well, I don't feel like that anymore. Well, now, for example, I can't use any of y'all for an example. Don't want to. You can. That's what the chat's for. But in that, I've made my mistakes before. So, I was discussing earlier on in this about having a certain feeling and being melancholy. And that melancholy, if it hangs around a little bit a little while, a little bit of time, it turns into depression. So I realize that feeling now. I realize what's going to make me angry and go, this really pisses me. Calm down, calm down, calm down. You know that's useless. Yeah, okay. But I really want to be mad. Okay. So I have this little conversation with myself and I allow myself to be pissed off for a couple of minutes and rant and rave. And then my other side of me says, okay, that's enough. And you say, well, that's a little bit crazy, but no, that's the good and the bad side of you. Yeah, that's the good angel and the bad angel, on the cartoons. So which one do you listen to? Well, this is jumping up and down over here, screaming, the little devil guy. This is my angel guy, gal, person, entity. And I love you all. But the idea though, that in this, there's humor. Um, there are folks who take certain things way too serious. Well, I've got to meditate and I got to do this. Yeah, but you can do it with a smile on your face. You can think of something funny that you saw during the day, or something that really made you laugh, or there's some little stupid incident or something, and get a giggle out of it. And you go, oh, okay, Well, but today was, let's go over today's day of Mr. Dave. Now, Mr. Dave's day was a really shitty day. Now, at 9:30 this morning, the dog threw up on the floor and he had to clean it up after just waking up to take a pee. Now, Dave's day was like this. And from then it just went into mosquitoes. You see. So then I can say, well, Dave's day. And some of that actually happened. Dog threw up right there after I went, yes, that is true. But so rather than like for myself, kick the dog, that dog was trying to just, not throw up on me. And so I was like, oh man, could you go to the door? Too late. It's already out. All right. So go outside, finish, and I'll clean this up. Not the first thing you want in the morning, right? But, and I can remember myself when I used to just get pissed off, scream and holler at the animal, the dog, whatever. And man, there's some activity here in this house tonight. There's stuff flying around and they ain't there. I'm seeing all kinds of things. Wow, this is just interesting. But anyway, dimensional shift. I've heard 3 other people since that I talked about it discuss that we may be going through dimensional shifts and timeline mergers. Did something just go? Anyway, dimensional shifts and timeline mergers. And I was like, what? I just talked about that. 3 different places, right? And I just said, well, and then it come up another in something else too. I think there was actually 4. But anyway, to my point though, it's interesting that when things like that come up and I have a discussion, now I'm having this discussion about the 88th monkey and the 100th monkey. Don't know if that'll show up anywhere out in the universe, but there are times when it seems like I get some information and I'm not sure what it is. They kick me out of bed to have a conversation. Now that's my connection to the universe. But here's the thing. Everybody has this opportunity. I don't consider myself lucky. I just consider myself practiced. That's all. So if you were practicing magic, practice medicine, practice, and dentistry, you practice dentistry. That's a little bit more straightforward, but in that everything, if you're going to be a carpenter, you got to apprentice, you have to learn, you got to practice building. If you're going to be a machinist, you have to learn speeds and oils and metal types and stuff, and how to work the machine to do it. Even if it is CNC, you still have to plug the information in and make sure that your XYZ coordinates are set correct. I mean, you can mess some stuff up if you don't know what you're doing. So it's not that it's so hard, but you got to learn how to do it. And to learn how to do it well, like a master carpenter or an electrician or a machinist or a meat cutter or whoever it is, or an IT tech, you have to practice. You don't just learn code, you practice. You write a bit of software, you do a little thing, you practice. You take the software, because I have fiddled with it, and you build an app. You know, there are apps to build apps with, right? So you do these things. So um, your knowledge, but everything that we do requires practice. You know, cooking requires practice. I know some people who still don't know how to cook. Um, and I made an interesting mistake tonight that turned out really well. But anyway, I had a leftover can of half mushrooms and a can of tomatoes that I'd opened up, and realized I wasn't going to use them anytime soon. So I better use them. And I added them on top of some ribs and stood the ribs up on end, and then filled the cracks between with the tomatoes, and smothered it in onion and mushrooms and teriyaki, and put them in the oven to bake. Should have added some salt and a little bit of sage, but and it could have used a dash of garlic, but I let it be a la natural. And man, it's got a really nice base taste, rather than being overflowing with ooh, spicy. The last time I made something, it was a little too spicy. It was good. Me and the dog loved it. But this was just it real simple, with tomatoes and some mushrooms and onions, and just slow cooked in the broiler. Anyway, so but other folks would have ruined that meal, and or said, well, that doesn't taste right. Well, then throw some ketchup on it, it'll be okay. But in cooking and life, you say, well, I've tried this and this, and I've done this over the years. Well, wait a minute. So spiritually, you've done the same thing over and over and over again, and you've practiced this. But have you got in a rut? You know, have you experienced anything new lately? Well, no. Well, I still meditate. Well, but have you had any? Well, I still meditate. I do my time. I ding, 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 play with the bell, and yeah, play with my soup ball thing, and my medit. Yeah, okay, okay. But have you learned anything? Has anything come crashing in? Doesn't have to be huge, but has anything come in? Well, I don't know. I think about the grandkids and stuff, and okay, not that that's bad, but to have you as a meditator, as you as a person on the spiritual journey, have you picked up anything new lately? Well, I don't know what you mean. I'll repeat it. Have you learned anything new recently, spiritually? Have you just had this little aha moment somehow? A little bit of clarification, a dream, maybe? Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, then never mind. Because in part of what I just described, or the question I asked, you should have been able to answer me with a spiritual type of question. Well, I've had this, I've been feeling a little down, so I've been meditating to pick my energy up. Okay, there's a difference. You've been able to tell when you're going to be depressed or melancholy, and you chose to meditate and to bring your energies up. Well, so you have had a spiritual moment here recently, right? Yes. Well, I don't really consider. Wait a minute. You were going to be depressed, started to be depressed, and changed your mind and pulled yourself out of it. I consider that the win column. Well, I don't know. It doesn't look like I did anything. You pulled yourself out of the depression before you got there. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. So, but you're not giving yourself any credit for it either. Well, but and I worked on it, and I thought, yeah. Do you just realize what the hell you did? What do you mean, Dave? You just pulled yourself out of the depression before you went there. So, what does that mean? It means you're getting better at doing this. It means you're more aware of things. It means that you, as a person, your energy, you're picking these up and making decisions to be of a higher frequency. You're trying to do better. And your awareness has grown because now you can spot it. Now you can feel it coming. Now you can see it like a freight train coming at you and you want to avoid it. That's how you tell whether you're making any progress spiritually. Now, I can't, I mean, if we have a conversation, I can point those things out to you. And there are folks that I have. And like, listen, you've already done this. Don't go back, move on. You learned this lesson and as we all have in certain things. So you've learned this lesson. Just look at it. You're done bitching now because you done bitched about it enough now. It's time to move on, whatever it is. And well, I didn't do this. Okay, so work on it tomorrow. Well, tomorrow I got planned. Okay, so then plan it for the future. Tomorrow is any day in the future, right? Doesn't have to be in 6 hours tomorrow or 12 hours tomorrow. It can be 10 days tomorrow, because it's in our future. So in pulling the cards, and I promised that I was going to pull a card. I promised I was going to pull a card. I have been yapping for an hour and 45 minutes. Holy crap. I've done it again. What was supposed to be a simple discussion has gotten long-winded again. It's a concept, though, that we must try to understand. Give ourselves credit for what we've learned without being egotistical about it. But we must be confident. We got to be. Listen, if you've learned this lesson, then be confident you're going to do your best to avoid it in the future. Yes or no? Well, yeah. Okay. That's progress. Well, do you know what? Stop it. Quit trying to make up something else. You made it through. You have learned a lesson and you have gained insight, progress. Yes or no? Well, yes. I'm telling you, you've made progress. I don't know about this. No, I don't, it doesn't seem like and I'll let it get to me again. Would you stop? You, so you let it get to you again. You just learned another thing. Damn it, I let this get to me again. Or this thing bothered me again. See, you realize the first time, the second time you kind of went in with it, but then you got caught up in the waves of excitement or whatever. And so you almost did exactly, but you were aware of it this time where before it was just dumb mistake. This time you went in with awareness and it still came out wrong, but you learned from it anyway. So now that's two under your belt. Not that you need any more circumstances, right? So you look at this and you go, okay, now I got circumstances of people staying here and living here and leaving shit and, So, but every time I go into it with an open heart that this person needs help right now. What happens tomorrow, the next day, or in the future, can't see it, but I'm going to work on today and tomorrow. That's for short term, at least, with an idea in the long run. So when things don't work out, when circumstances change, you just have to roll with the punches and go, okay, so what did I learn from this? Well, I let it this happen again and that happen. Yeah, but you didn't let and that happen, which you did before. So we've learned over time. We have learned to discern and see things coming. Now, what if we're not spiritually aware and any awareness, if it's of our reality, is spiritual in nature. If you're aware, any awareness ends up being spiritual. It is of a spiritual nature in and of itself. Awareness. Well, that person's really smart. Yeah, okay. But there's, they might be dumb in their spirit, but their smartness comes from their brain, which is a part of their conscious and subconscious, which is a part of the energy of the cosmos. And so therefore, their energy, their mathematical skills but can't change a tire. I know people like that. And they have no practical knowledge of certain things, but they're really smart in other areas. You know, somebody, and I've known people like this, you know, couldn't do arithmetic, couldn't work out a geometry problem, but you give them a welder and a drill and a hammer and a hacksaw, and they'll go back in the shop and build you something. And you come back out and go, holy crap. Yeah, well, I took this and I did that and I measured this, drilled 2 holes, and I had to do this and that, but they can't balance a checkbook. But they can, I've seen some of these, backwoods guys make some of the most outrageous stuff out of scrap. You should see what I'm going to be doing. But anyway, what does that have to do with spirituality? Every bit of awareness, physical or otherwise, ends up being a part of our spirit. Consider that. And consider that as we all learn things, we as a tribe of monkeys. I'm being satirical with that. We are not monkeys, okay? And don't believe in it. Don't go that way. As somebody's, just don't know. Aliens came and brought me here. What? God brought you, and then nah, aliens brought us. Just leave it at that. But, nah, come on. Let's be real about this. Cards. Oops. Wow, those interesting. The 2 cards that needed to be seen tonight plopped out all by themselves. Hummingbird and hawk upside down. So let me find my little book. Yeah, I mean, they flew out of the deck, literally. Got to get my reading glasses. I hope you all are doing well. I hope some of this makes a bit of sense. I woke up probably a bit too early. Maybe in the last life, I was really making an effort to be balanced. I think you guys are too. Yep, Fox. All of us in that brick, we live in the past yet perceive it as the present. Yep, and our future selves too. If you've ever heard me with my prayers, and I say to all of your relations, past, present, and to come, and future, because in these timelines of things, especially some of those that are apparently being merged right now, that the universe is making some changes, and I think some of the changes are being brought on by some of these intelligent beings, and I think that some of these energies and changes that are happening to us are of a honest cosmic nature. I mean, these cosmic waves have been coming across, the galaxy for a long time. I mean, in Star Trek, and you see these planets blow up, and you see the energies come out. We've all watched the sunspots and the flares and the things coming at us. This stuff is real, and so, and if there is an intelligent race that has been to the center of the galaxy, then they've probably experienced some of these waves that have been going across our universe and will continue to go across our universe every day, every second, everything. So, but for us, it would be a future event. If they have seen it, if they've seen an event 10 light years away or 100 light years away, that's headed our direction, but they can travel that 100 light years like that. So they plop in that 100 light years, like, warp drive, or just you're there. Um, and there's too much proof that they're going into some kind of super sub kind of thingy, and so through some kind of a portal, so they can skip across 100 million light years, but it takes this wave X amount of time to come. So to us, it's a future event. To them, it's already happened. It just ain't got to us yet. You see what I mean? It's like tracking a tsunami. So why can't this be possible? We're this little planet on the edge of the galaxy over here. Why can't this be possible? Well, I don't know, because aliens don't really exist and all this other kind of. Why not? Well, because why not? But because we weren't, and there ain't no such thing as spaceships. We've all seen too much of that. Here's the point. It's as plausible as an invisible God that sits on a throne in heaven. I'm just saying. Hawk, number 2. Hawk, messenger of the sky, circle my dreams and teach me the message as we fly. So Hawk is a messenger. Hawk is akin to Mercury, the messenger of the gods. Hawk medicine teaches you to be observant, thus my name, Hawkeye. To look at your surroundings, observe the obvious in everything that you do. Life is sending you signals. Life is the initiation. Think about this. Life is the initiation. So in order to get to heaven, life is the initiation. If you have pulled the Hawk card, then right now a clue about the magic of life is being brought to you. This magic can imbue you with the power to overcome a currently stressful or difficult situation. The test is your ability to observe the nuances of power lurking nearby. Is the power the talent you have and are not using? Are solutions always hard to find because you have lost the broader vision of Hawk? Or is the great spirit displaying a gift that you need only to receive? Have the colors of the morning inspired you to create? Or has the gloominess of a present situation left you earthbound, unable to hear the voice within the raindrops splashing on your window? Pay attention. You are only as powerful as your capacity to perceive, receive, and use your energies. You are only as powerful as your capacity to perceive, receive, and use your abilities. Accept and receive. What is called for here is an intuitive ability to discern the message carried within the cry of the hawk. The shrillness of Hawk's call pierces the state of unawareness and asks you to seek the truth. The ancients recognized this magnificent bird of prey as a messenger bringing the tidings to their earth walk, the good red road from the world of the grandfathers and grandmothers who lived before them. If Hawk were to magically cry, it was a sign to beware or be aware. This could mark the coming of a warring tribe, the birth of a child, or the celebration of counting coup. Hawk's cry signaled the need for the beholder to heighten awareness and receive a message. Hawk medicine is a totem that is filled with responsibility because Hawk people see the overall view. That's why I'm here. Hawk is not like Mouse, who sees everything through a magnifying glass. Hawk medicine people are aware of omens, messages from the spirit, and the color of the calling card you gave them 3 months ago. No detail slips them by unnoticed. If Hawk is circled and landed in your card spread, you are to be aware of signals in your life, so notice and receive them. Hawk may be teaching you to grab an opportunity which is coming your way. On the other hand, Hawk may be bringing you the message that you should circle over your life and examine it from a higher perspective. Listen, me being Hawkeye, this line. On the other hand, Hawk, me, may be bringing you the message that you should circle over your life and examine it from a higher perspective. Okay? From me to you and from this book and the card, Hawk is telling. From the vantage point, you may be able to discern the hazards which bar you from the freedom of flight. Remember, Hawk has a keen eye and a bold heart, for Hawk flies close to the light of grandfather's son. Now, it's upside down. Okay, so got to read the contrary. Absolutely. If you have drawn Hawk reversed, it may be because you have shut down your powers of observation on some level. If something in your life has become too painful to feel, too unbelievable to hear, or too dark to see, it is time to examine the point at which you chose to let yourself become emotionally involved. How much I'm always talking about, keeping emotions out of stuff. So how to let yourself become emotionally involved and to no longer be the observer. Well, you got to be the observer, but sometimes you may be that you are to participate. When you allow your emotions to override your perception, the message from Hawk cannot penetrate the chaos and the confusion. At this point, you are asked to be mindful of the honest observer's neutral position, which allows the message to be intuitively and clearly understood without emotion coloring its true meaning. Here's the message. Okay, well, but don't kill the messenger. So the slave has run 26 miles to give the king a message, and the king don't like the messenger, and he cuts off the messenger's head. So you become emotionally involved with the message. Emotional coloring is a tendency of Hawk medicine people when they are off balance. Their emotions cloud their visions and lead to a crash landing. The ego can clip their vision and lead to a crash. The ego can clip the wings and leave Hawk grounded. Now, personally, I don't feel that way at the moment. I will think about this, but I drew these cards for you folk. So you all are getting the Hawk card upside down. There are a lot of emotions going out there, and I keep saying out loud, we got to stay the observer, because otherwise it's going to cloud our vision, our judgment, and everything. We still got to keep an eye on it. Here, this contrary Hawk is telling you that, because I already see it. Also, if Hawk believes that those who cannot fly the same way he or she does have weaker perceptions, then the winged messenger has not understood his or her own medicine. So, in my discussion about, this 88 monkey, we have to understand those things that we have already learned. But if Hawk believes that those who cannot fly the same way, they have a weaker perception, then the winged messenger has not understood his own medicine. So if I'm Hawk and I'm flying along and I see another Hawk over there and they can't keep up, it is not my job to go over and go, hey, you need to get. No, it actually is my job to go over and help slow down and encourage this other hawk or other bird to fly. Freedom of flight is a privilege, and being a messenger is an honor. And I absolutely get that, boy, I do. The responsibility for delivery of the message is up to you. Take your flight and forget about interpreting the omen your own way. Let the receiver decide what the message means. So I'm trying to give you all the message as hawk. And so I can't interpret it to you. You got to do that yourself. Hawk in the contrary position teaches you these four things. One, to open up the powers of observation. Two, not to tell others how to think or behave. Three, and that's a hard one because in my discussions and with my preaching to y'all, I always say, make up your own mind about this, but consider this. So I'm really trying not to get you to tell you how to think, but that you should think. Number three, to take care of your own emotional baggage before you begin receiving omens, visions, or messages. So if you have internal things going on, you're not going to get true messages from the universe. You got to do that work. Number four, to remember that all gifts are equal. Remember this, put it on your forehead. Remember that all gifts are equal in the eyes of Great Spirit. So you make that much progress, it's a gift. Great Spirit sees it and hears it. This ought to do well with the hummingbird to make a point. And I'm getting hummingbird number 44, which turns out to be an 8 if you're doing the gematria thing. And 2 is just a 2. 44. We have done hummingbird a couple of times. And this time it's right side up and not upside down. So I think the last time we had it, it was contrary position. This is about Joy again. I knew a lady named Joy. Several different ladies named. Anyway, hummingbird, joyful little sister, nectar you crave. All the sweetness of the flowers is the love that you gave. Hummingbird is associated with the ghost shirt religion, which taught that a certain dance done properly would bring about the return of the animals and that white people would disappear. That's sort of what the ghost dance was, sort of. Once again, the original people would know the joy of the old ways. In Mayan teachings, hummingbird is connected to the black sun and the fifth world. Hummingbird is connected to the black. Oh, hummingbird can give us the medicine to solve the riddle of the contradiction of duality. Hummingbird can give us the medicine to solve the riddle of the contradiction of duality. The song of the hummingbird awakens the medicine flowers. Hummer sings a vibration of pure joy. Flowers love hummingbird because nectar sucking brings about the reproduction of their families. Plants flower and live because of hummingbird. Hummingbird can fly in any direction, up, down, backwards, and forwards. Hummingbird can also hover in one spot and appear to be motionless. Great Spirit created hummingbird to be slightly different from all the other feathered creatures. Because of their magical qualities, hummingbird feathers have been used for a millennium in the making of love charms. It is said that hummingbird conjures love as no other medicine does, and that hummingbird feathers open the heart. Without an open and loving heart, you can never taste the nectar and pure bliss of life. Without an open and loving heart, You can never taste the nectar and pure bliss of life. So I know that at times my heart has been closed. And so there are people out there that have closed off their hearts for whatever reason. But if you don't have an open and loving heart, then that doesn't mean you have to let idiots into your heart and steal your energy. Not the same. But because people have broken our hearts and stolen our energy, we have closed off parts of our heart. It's true. And we have to learn how to open those things back up and not necessarily allow people or whatever to hurt us again in that same way. No, that's part of the learning process. Uh, to brother and sister hummingbird, life is a wonderland of delight, darting from one flower to taste, another tasting the essences, and radiating the colors. If hummingbird is in your personal medicine, you love life and its joys. Your presence brings joy to others. You join people together in relationships which brings out the best in them. You know instinctively where beauty abides, and near or far, you journey to your ideal. You move comfortably within a beautiful environment and help others taste the succulent nectar of life. Hummingbird holds the bow of beauty, which is delicately inlaid with gold and silver flowers, pearls, and precious jewels. Hummingbird disdains ugliness or harshness and quickly flies away from discord or disharmony. If Hummingbird has flown into your cards, get ready to laugh musically and enjoy Creator's many gifts. Drop your judgmental attitude and relax. Don't get your panties in a bunch. Hummingbird will no doubt give you a flash of the spirit, darting here and there and everywhere. Get ready for a strange new burst of energy which may send your senses reeling. Hummingbird, now Hawk's telling us to be aware and to observe. Hummingbirds tell us it's a coming. Interesting. Hummingbird hears celestial music and is in harmony with it. Hummingbird may invite you to an art museum or a concert. Hummingbird energetically embraces the higher aesthetics. Never be coarse in front of Hummingbird, for this is a fragile medicine which may have no understanding of worldly affairs. Beauty is the target, and Hummingbird's mission is to spread joy or to be destroyed. Yuck. Hummingbird quickly dies if caged, caught, or imprisoned. That's true. Follow Sister Hummingbird, and you will soon be filled with the paroxysms of joy and experience a renewal of the magic of living. Now, the contrary, because I always do this, contrary Hummingbird is in your cards, which it wasn't. It speaks to you of matters of the heart. How or why has your heart center closed? Have you done something callous to another, causing them to shut off the love they once felt for you? The contrary hummingbird may presage sorrow and their inability to see the many blessings we two-leggeds have been given and the primordial beauty that surrounds us. If contrary hummingbirds sings its forlorn song, perhaps you should journey into your own personal pain and know that your sorrow is your joy in another reflection. That's interesting. Perhaps you should journey into your personal pain and know that your sorrow is your joy in another reflection. Very interesting. So it comes back up again. Hummingbird has come up to us several times. Hawk has been, I think, once. And upside down, this is an interesting. But so we have to, one of the things that I see in the repetition of these cards, when there are 44 of these cards and these same ones keep coming up. And I shuffled the deck while I was sitting here and they just popped out of the middle of the deck on the floor. So, it's like spirits trying to reiterate certain things. And one of the things that, in discussing this 88 monkey idea is that, are we observing, and what are we observing? Are we observing the whole thing? And are we observing with a joy and or is it tedious? And does it upset us? Well, I found another rabbit hole, and these people are doing this thing, and you know what they're doing to children. And yeah, if I stay in that mental focus of what they're doing to other people, I can't be in any state of joy. Now, I know people are being tortured. I can hear them screaming sometimes. And I know that there are other beings being tortured as well. It ain't just, humans. So, in understanding the higher realm of things in spirituality, it's not just this group that's getting picked on, the Black Lives Matter thing. What about old white people, that get picked on and beat up all the time? And sometimes by black folk, but, I've had my share of getting beat up by black folk with not trying to be superior to them, left scars and left me with another head concussion and put me in the hospital. So, I've had my discussions, with the Black Lives Matter people, and they beat the crap out of me. Um, and I was being like, hey, y'all, how you doing? And that was the answer I got, was to get beat up. So it happened in Tallahassee many years ago, but it did happen. And there's a police report on it somewhere. But the idea, though, that, this idea that, us white people, we have some kind of, inside connection to, that just ain't true. But in what's headed for us right now, and we can see some shit coming at us, can't we? We don't really have a clue as to what's going on behind the scenes. We know that there's stuff going on. We know that certain people are being attacked. And, I saw something about and I've been a little weird about this too. I've talked about Trump's plane being followed by there's been a spaceship seen, flying along with it. And it looks like a Mater ship and possibly a Flash. And so during the debate, it was brought up that, Trump's plan was a V and Biden's plan was a K. Well, the K would, if certain folks are saying that it reflects the Christus group. And then there are those who say that the V is the Trump group. Well, I have been wondering and concerned about this for quite some time. I don't trust Biden. I'm sorry. Him, I don't trust. I don't trust the Democratic Party anymore. I mean, I just don't. Some of the things that they're trying to do, and it just, nope, I'm sorry. It's not the party that I started out with JFK. You guys are not the same people. And so I think a lot of things need to be restructured. But here's the other side of that coin. Both sides are guilty of doing crappy shit. Both sides. So we say, the Democrats this and the Republicans this. Biden has done stuff that's just as bad as any Republican, and he's a Democrat. So then, this person over here, and well, Trump's done this and he's done that. Okay. So he's, but this guy's over here and he did that. So when you get right down to it, the politics ain't nothing. There are bad guys who are power hungry on both sides and in the middle, And I think back to the days of Ross Perot, and I think to myself, here was this millionaire, billionaire guy, right? Running for president. And we all thought that was a dumb idea. but he actually has some really good ideas. And, some would say, well, you picked this renegade guy. Well, Trump really wasn't necessarily a full blown Republican, and he's got some Democratic ideas. So, in my mind, some of these things have been headed in this direction. Now, could that still mean that we're working for the bad guys? Well, the rich and the powerful, right? No matter what we do, we're going to be working for the rich and powerful, one way or the other. If Biden takes over, it's going to be the rich and powerful because they're going to still make the decisions. And Nancy Pelosi, we want to get rid of Trump. We're going to kill, people wishing him dead. That was just uncalled for. Don't wish for anything, but God forbid you wish him dead and put it out there. We hope he don't survive, and that was just uncalled for. As much as I didn't like Bush and Obama, I would have not wished them dead. Out of office, yes. Dead, no. Um, and after 4 or 8 years, they were out of office. So got my wish. It just took a while. So the things that I do see happening are going to cloud our judgment so much because, I'm voting for this over here, thinking this is and this and this, and this is going to be like it is. And then I'm not going to vote for this guy because he's lied. He's been cheating, stealing, and killed a bunch of folks in the Ukraine, him and his son, and all that craziness. And him as being vice president under his watch. So people died because of Joe Biden and his son. And they got rich off of it. And so I can't say the same thing for Trump. But there's a record of Joe and him. And he was a senator when a lot of things could have been done. He could have stood up against the war in Iraq. He didn't. Whereas there are a lot of things that, old Sleepy Joe. And I'm bringing this up because these things are going to cloud our judgment. So, but now do you pick this guy? And you say, he's supposed to be the world leader. Do you want this guy to represent us? Or do you want this guy to keep representing us? It could be worse. Yeah, okay, let's look around. Oh my God, the choices. So, but now is it the Flash or the Christus? Which side is on which side? Now, some of the things that I've seen, I'm like, well, that's for the good. And I see Trump trying to do this and create jobs. And a year or so ago, it's probably 2 years ago, they were going to build a metal plant, making metal, get in raw materials and you melt it down and you make stuff with it, right? And in North Florida somewhere. And it was like, this COVID thing and it's held it back. It's a pipeline that goes, every time I go into Moultrie, I cross over this pipeline. There are several pipelines around here in South Georgia, crisscrossing, most of them natural gas, but they ain't staying here, it's going to somewhere else. So if you were to create a new smelting plant that requires high temperatures, you're going to need some fuel, right? So, okay. So propane, natural gas, that kind of thing, that's going to help with a blast furnace. So I could see where the pipeline to bring the gas down here to have so all of this has been happening, but then there are the people who are bitching and complaining because of the pipeline. Oh, well, the pipeline. Okay, I've been through this, but the pipeline this and the pipeline that. Okay. But in the long run, though, if it's going to go to a plant that's going to melt down metals, because we've been shipping all of our metal to China, it's been going overseas. They bring stuff over here and we ship raw materials back. I've been cleaning my property off and selling off cars and junk and stuff and have taken tons to the scrap metal. So I know what I'm talking about in that respect. And those guys in the metal business are going, we can't ship it to China quick enough. They need raw materials. And so we've collected old cars and stuff, bed springs from places like they did in World War II. They went around and got scrap metal from everywhere so they could build bombers and planes and cars and trucks and tanks. I mean, it was amazing what they, like the North Georgia mountains where they used to have a lot of old gold mines and stamping mills up there. Why you can't see many of them anymore is because they were all confiscated and otherwise melted down during World War II for metal for the war effort. And people saved their tin cans, and those were sent back and melted back. I mean, when I talked to my granny before she passed, there were a lot of things they did during the war that we just like, what? We don't do, you know, they were saving bottles and cans and stuff because the country needed them. So anyway, what has that got to do with the 88 and everything? It's our awareness. If we reach that 100th monkey because more of us are aware, then is it going to be true? No, I'm going to state this fact before I leave you all. After 2.5 hours. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Is that I believe that it can. So if the 88th monkey was like, there's something wrong about the sand on this potato, I'm going to figure it out. And after a while, he's going to talk with the other monkeys and go, you know what? I really don't like the sand on this thing. What are we going to do about it? I don't know. What do we do? And one of them throws one in the river or in the ocean or something and go, wow, picked it up and says, guess what? No sand. Grab the potatoes, guys. We're going to wash these things off. So did they have a consortium? I would say this. The intent of the monkeys was they didn't like the sand. Now, we're getting a lot of sand in our mouth from the chaos and stuff going on around us. Let's wash it off and see what we get. Some we might wash it off and it just not be any good at all. Or the flavor, we wash off the crap, it might actually taste good. We have to wash off all of the layers to be able to see the truth, being the observer. And we've got to stay in joy. Well, they burned down another mission today, did everybody make it out? Yeah, everybody made it out alive. But boy, they burned down another, they burned down another forest. Yeah, but after a good forest, there's always, new life that grows. Yeah, well, another hurricane came in and that ought to teach people not to build high rises on the ocean, but they're going to do it again anyway. Oh yeah, but we're going to have this, and oh yeah, there's going to be a food shortage, and oh yeah, we're all going to die next week, and oh yeah, November the 2nd, there's an asteroid coming that's going to kill us all before we get a chance to vote. It's going to be interesting, folks. What do we need to do? Keep our focus. Find some joy in your life. And for goodness sakes, keep your panties out of a bunch. Fox, Trump is a Monterey hybrid. Yeah, I got that bad feeling. And the thing is, though, that I have really seen what some of his stuff has accomplished to the good side. But it is for power, and it is for the oligarchs to make more money, and it is about making money for the rich folk. But at the same point, if the folks in the kingdom are poor and can't, give them a job and make them feel proud of themselves and the work they do. Sure, why not? Is it a trick? Probably. But it's the way it's been going on for a long time. And many of us can get out of that. But at the same point, there are a bunch of folks who just aren't equipped to do anything else but have a job and go 9 to 5 and do the thingy and do da. And but in that they're happy with their lives. So, but at the same time, there are folks that just ain't putting up with that mess anymore. Everybody wants to be a millionaire. Why, you can't be happy with 100,000? Just saying, but we all got to be a millionaire. So, a millionaire in heaven looks the same as the homeless person. There is no difference. So, the homeless person might actually glow a little more than the rich person, but we'll see. But anyway, for all of you, yes, find the joy. Deborah, we need to keep a positive outlook. Things will unfold as they should. And we're right where when we're supposed to be. Yeah, I think they stepped up their game a bit, um, Deborah, because as Simon Parks and other folks have noted, and I've just been keeping an eye on this, um, is the fact that their 2021 and 2030 agenda, which is very real, um, did not occur the way it was supposed to. And I'm curious about it is because some of the things that were going on were hell bent for election when Obama left. And there are FEMA camps near here. Okay. There's an underground facility in Thomasville that I've talked about. It is there. And they won't let you in. But the idea, though, that none of that seems to have been happening during the Trump thing. So if Trump's on the bad guy's side and he's a hybrid, then wouldn't we still have been going down that road of having FEMA camps and all this other stuff? Just saying. So the agenda of how things were going 4 years ago and where they seem to be headed now, we're in our own FEMA camp. Everybody's already in their own prison. It's hard for me to go, well, if he's working for the bad guys, then how come this stuff looks pretty good? Because what the other side is offering is putrid. I mean, from just a common sense point of view, it don't have common sense in some of this stuff. And Joe, one of his commercials about how he's going to do this and how he's going to do that for the folks on Social Security. Let me remind some of you people, Joe Biden was a senator back when they passed some of this stuff, and he's guilty of some of the problems some of us seniors are having now. They capped what those of us could make. It used to be they would go back to the day your first payment into Social Security. And then back during Obama and Biden was a senator before he took vice president, they changed the law. And they only go back X amount of years now to qualify you for your Social Security. Wait a minute, I started work at 13, and now they're only going to go back 20 years? Look at that. Joe did that. Oh, but Joe, he's for us folks with Medicare. No, you're not. Joe was in there and was doing nasty stuff and borrowed money from Social Security. Oh, but he's for us. And I'm watching his commercials and I want to slap the television, and go, you're a liar. 40 some odd years you've been in Congress as a senator and as a vice president for 8 years, and you did not help us. No, you didn't. While you were in office, you cut our salaries, our people on Social Security. You cut our salaries. You limit. I got from last year, I got $11 raise, cost of living. $11 a month. Ooh, how much the Democrats and how much Biden is helping us poor old folk. $11 a month is what I got extra. I only make $1,040 bring home, and then there's whatever they take out from my Medicare. And, but the thing is, um, rich people like him, Social Security, they don't have to pay in up to but a certain percentage of their salary. So if you make $100,000, you have to pay X amount into Social Security from your wages. If you make $1 million, you only have to put in 20%. They only count 20% of your salary. Now, what makes the millionaire any better than the person who makes 100 grand a year? I never made 100 grand a year, but you know, but to the point, those folks that makes less than 500,000 or whatever don't have to pay the full amount on their salaries. Why not? If you make $1 million and you need to take 20% out, like, or whatever the percentage is for the rest of us, you guys need to pay up. No, Joe is one of the ones that changed the cap. Trump changed it from 15 to 20 or something like that. He actually said 5% more needs to come out of you rich people's pockets. You already got enough. And it's true. So if everybody just paid their fair share, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, $1 million, $1 billion, don't matter. You make $1 million, you pay the same amount of the same deductions come out of your salary. If they did that, every single one of us on Social Security could get a lot more money a month. It wouldn't be a pitiful $11 a month over. That's our pay increase. If these millionaires and billionaires paid their fair share, like the rest of us do. Now I'm for that. Biden ain't saying nothing about that. Trump actually did something. He raised the cap. So what they need to do is remove the cap. Now, would Biden be willing to do that? Because none of us would be affected, but all the millionaires and billionaires that contribute to them folks, oh my God, listen here. So, but anyway, so I don't see where he is a better deal. Even if he's working on the K, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't. We'll see as it works out. Being here isn't selfless. Love listening to your talks. Thank you. Always makes me think and smile. Thank you, Deborah. I really dislike the whole person that is Joe Biden. Too many lies and too much arrogance with a slice of privilege. I mean, one of the things, I had turned off the debates because it was getting out of hand. And I've seen some of the clips after the fact. And old creepy Joe calling him a clown and an idiot and all this kind of stuff. I'm sorry. Trump's bad enough, but he had a little bit more decorum. And I was disappointed in Trump, but Trump's Trump, that he didn't show a little bit better decorum than he did by interrupting and, being a president, right? That was my issue. But 11 squares of green toilet paper. Wow. Do you think that a flat tax rate is the way to go? I always thought it made more sense than what we have. Here's the thing. If there weren't all these credits and stuff for the rich people, which poor people, we don't make enough money to take these credits because we just don't make enough. But a flat tax, yeah, would be simpler. It really would. But here's the thing. Whether you believe Trump paid no taxes or not, or this and that, he's not taking a salary. Now, the Democrats were complaining that, he was overpaying his hairdresser. Well, good for the hairdresser. Well, what do you mean? Well, Trump spent this money. He was giving money to somebody for a salary. Now, shut up. He was paying somebody for a service. Yeah, but he spent all that. Yeah, but somebody got that money. It just didn't go down the toilet. He was paying someone to do his hair or do whatever it is they do to it. And whatever he felt it was worth, he was paying someone for their service. But all they're talking about is the money that he spent. But it went to someone who's got a family, who has a car, a truck, that pays rent, that pays taxes. You know what I mean? So you're picking on Trump because he spent this money on his hair, but ain't nobody giving credit to the guy that does, or person, or persons who does his hair and the money that they got, regardless of how much it was or wasn't. They got their bills and stuff to do too. So the Democrats are bitching about Trump paying somebody for a service. What? What? Wait, you get paid for a service and you don't produce, you know? Anyway, but the irony of some of this stuff is just mind boggling. But anyway, we got to keep our cool heads about us, folks, and we got to spread that energy to other people. It's our jobs when we reach a certain point of awareness, and we can't make them. We can't, that thing about you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Absolutely, you can show them where the water is, but that's it. And it's free will. So let's see what our free will does. But there are people with a lot of power and a lot of influence that are going to try to make a mess. Now, there's a recording of uh, Ronald Reagan running for office, and he said now this has been a bunch of years ago. He said there's already been ballot tampering. Now this is back in Ronald Reagan's day. He said we have to work to secure our vote. Ronald Reagan, way back. The film was black and white. So he's discussing these things before we had color television. And so when President Trump brings it up about the ballots and stuffing and being careful, it hasn't changed as long as I have been alive. This has been going on. So whether or not you like the Supreme Court justice pick, having a judge and someone with knowledge of the Constitution is going to be important, because they're going to try some shenanigans. I've already brought it up. There's some other people who are much more intelligent than me that brought it up. And I read the documents and I looked and I see where some of this stuff needs to be taken care of. Whether they're stacking the deck or not, but to not fulfill certain duties and to put certain people in office when if you see a train's going to run off the track, but you don't have somebody that's going to be one of the switchmen to switch that track to the other one so they don't have a crash. And that's sort of what we're dealing with. And whether or not you feel the person is qualified to flip that switch for the train to go by or not, we just kind of have to put faith in the person, because circumstances might change for that person. It might rain. She might get struck by lightning trying to change the tracks. Anyway, my friends, I love you. I do. Thank you so much for your participation. And I am here to make you think, get you to think, make you. I'm going to make you think. Well, we have a nice discussion and you guys get to hang out. Thank you all. Deborah, the Brick, Fox, paperback by Words and Rocks ain't worth much in my opinion. Paperback by Words and Rocks ain't worth. Words and Rocks. I don't quite get it, Brick. Yep, money. Anyway, I love you all. I do. Be careful. Let's keep an eye out and work for each other. That's the idea. Let's see if we can't find that 100th monkey. You know what I mean? So, my friends, thank you so much. Money. I get it. Okay, I got it. I got you. I continue to pray, and I really do. I fell out of the bed this morning and said, we got to pray about this with all this craziness going on. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every day, you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. And it's a law of three. I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and any acquaintances and people you meet along the way, that you will learn to accept and receive and to continue to share the wisdom and the knowledge and the healing from the universe, because we surely need it right now. And we're going, these next 2 years are going to be tough. So um, keep your faith on, and let's find joy. Let's be like Hummingbird and be like joy. We got to keep joy in amongst the chaos. I mean, even during the times of, being in prison, there were folks who did carvings and drawings, and I wrote stories when I was in prison. And, during concentration camps and during, the prison camps in World War II, there were guys that, and the women sewed things and did stuff. I mean, they were creative because they were, even though they were in prison, they created things. And if any of you have ever seen, Stalag 13, where they, the Great Escape, where they dug all those tunnels. Now, I read that story years ago and saw the movie years ago, and it was amazing. They were taking boards out of the inside of their barracks. They were using the uh, the milk cans. They called it Clem, which is milk backwards. And they would get milk in little tins, right? And just like they do now, but they would put them together, and that's what made some of the tubes and the bellows and the things. They would cut these things up, and it was how they made some of their badges. It was amazing what these GIs did with tin cans, and amazing and creative. I mean, and they dug the tunnels, and they were creative. So even in dire circumstances, you can still be creative, and it might spawn, or a new type of creativity. So, but anyway, thank you all. Be kind. Have a great week, and I will be back. I promise. The discussion about the Braves on Horsemen needs to happen soon, so I will be back with that. So I love you all. Take care. Sleep well. And until next time, I love you. And as we say, ween, it's going to be Halloween soon. So, and I thought I'd do a collection of ghost stories again. Deborah, thank you. And the Brick, and anybody else that's hanging out. Michelle, if you're still here. And all those that you're lurking in the background, I love you all. Wavy, wavy, wavy. Cheers, everybody. And I do hope for the best for us, and I one way or the other, we're going to make it. One way or the other, even if the planet gets blown to smithereens, we'll make it to the other side sooner than later. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's not think about the bad things. Let's look for a positive way around them, or at least stand still long enough for the crocodiles to swim by before we cross the river. You know what I mean? So good night, everybody. Good morning, and have a pleasant tomorrow. And from South Georgia, TTFN. Ta ta for now. Bye, folks. Thank you. I love you all. Be sweet.